There's a lot to talk about, and I know his time is tight here. Luke, good morning. How long do I have with you now? I apologize for the delay, Luke. Good morning.
Good morning. No problem at all. I got about 10 minutes.
Okay. So let's talk about, first of all, if you could. By the way, Luke Perry, you have a blog that you put on. Maybe I'm not giving it the proper title, but on the 22nd congressional race. And following through, what are you seeing here now that we're actually past the last election and we can now look forward to the next election will be NY22 and the midterms?
Well, I think what we're seeing is some polling coming in about a year out now. The ECCC did some polling in regards to the race a few weeks ago, and there are some good indicators for Anthony Brindisi in terms of people who are aware of him looking at him rather favorably, and there seems to be a close race there. Now, the challenge for Brindisi is that he declared so early, so that he could get himself better known around the district, and there's still a lot of constituents who are unaware of him. And we also learned that recently the number of registered Republicans really hasn't changed this year, so Republicans have a 30,000 advantage in the district. So at this point, Congresswoman Tenney is not particularly popular, but she's got such a strong registered voter advantage. Remains to be seen if Brindisi can overcome that.
Here's something for you, as long as we're talking about this. And one thing that I would fear is you have Anthony Brindisi, who really is I think is a moderate. I could see Anthony Brindisi being a Republican or a Democrat in the way that he has carried himself. Do you agree with that?
I do think he's moderate. Was laughing because I'm sure he loves to hear that.
Probably, but I think that is, to me, that's the beauty of Anthony Brindisi, and what would give him the ability to be able to do well in this race. However, I do worry that if the DNC gets a hold of the campaign, I think they're going to draw him to the left, which I don't think is right for this district. What are your thoughts on my assessment there?
I think it's generally accurate. If you look at his record in the Assembly, he strikes me as more of a moderate than an ideological Democrat.
Yeah.
I think in some ways the dynamics of the Democratic Party nationally, like you mentioned, are probably pushing him to the left. You look at health care, for instance. He's come out in support of expanding health care coverage in a way that kind of fits with the more progressive element of the party. At the same time, you look at him in terms of gun policy, and he looks very much like a Republican and not at all like a Democrat.
Right.
Certainly an interesting set of perspectives there.
Okay, so let's talk about some national stuff, if we could, and this Roy Moore allegation, which, by the way, I think the floodgates are open, and you're going to end up seeing more women come out. It seems like there's some rumblings out there that there are more women. But still in Alabama, these guys support him, and this is all a big conspiracy from the left and from moderate establishment Republicans, according to the people in Alabama. This guy's still doing okay out there.
Well, I think either way, he's unlikely to become senator. I think even if he's elected, we've seen many Republicans, including the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the head of the Republican Senate Congressional Campaign Committee, Cory Gardner, say that he should step aside, and if he doesn't, Gardner said they'll lead a vote to expel him, which is possible. So even if he does get elected, and a lot can happen in the next 4 weeks, who knows, I don't think it's likely that he becomes senator. So the Republicans right now are trying to figure out how to navigate the situation. McConnell is working to try to figure out if they can put together a write-in candidacy. Yesterday it was floated that Jeff Sessions might be the candidate, because the problem they face is if they pick Luther Strange, who lost in the primary, then that's inherently controversial because he lost. And as you pointed out, Moore has support, and that's going to divide the Republican Party. So this is a seat that, Republicans can easily win, but if they've got two candidates that divide the vote, then maybe not. So I think right now, behind the scenes, McConnell's working pretty hard to figure out if they could get somebody who would have very large appeal with Republicans.
Well, this is, by the way, this is the winner in this whole thing. There's one person out there that is the lone winner, and it's Steve Bannon. This is exactly the kind of chaos he's trying to create in the Republican Party.
Well, that was the second part that I was going to mention. I think that right now you see a incredibly divided Republican Party, and I think the alt-right is incredibly destructive to what the Republican Party is trying to do, and that's led by Steve Bannon and Breitbart News, who, and, during the campaign last year, in some ways were helpful in terms of providing enthusiasm on the right. But now that the Republicans are in charge and hold more power at all levels of government as they've had in 80 years, right? Having somebody like Steve Bannon propping up people like Roy Moore, trying to rip apart many Republicans who are in office, I think it's a real challenge for the party and not one that's easy to navigate.
Yeah. And I want to go back just for a second. Do you really think that that if he's elected, that Republicans will move to expel him? Because that's a big move that I don't know could actually make matters so much worse for Republicans.
Well, the Senate is a tight group. That's the way that institution works.
Mm-hmm.
You've got well-respected members like John McCain saying he should step aside. You've got Mitch McConnell saying that he believes the women who made these allegations over Roy Moore. I mean, these are powerful, influential Republicans in the Senate, and if the leadership is saying that this shouldn't happen, meaning he takes office, then I think there's a serious chance that it won't.
Okay, very interesting. Love having you on, Luke. Luke Perry is professor of government and politics, and he's also the founder and director of the Utica College Center of Public Affairs and Election Research. And you can go to the website for details. We'll have a link to it as well. And of course, your coverage of the 22nd congressional. By the way, imagine how long have you been covering the 22nd congressional district election, which really hasn't even gotten underway yet. This has been going on for at least 4 or 5 months, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. Now we got a full year to go,
and still have a full year to go for the 2018 midterms. It's crazy.
And did we mention where can we check out that blog if that's what it is?
It's the NY 22-minute. How do people? What's the easiest way for people to get to it?
The easiest way to get to it is at ucpublicaffairs.com. That's the address of the website, and we publish daily political analysis on a range of topics.
Good stuff. Luke, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
Okay. It's crazy when you think about that. He's been covering the 22nd Congressional District's midterms basically since Claudia Tenney entered office. It was just a couple of months after that, and we were hearing rumblings of Anthony Brindisi, and then in, what was it, June that he came out. So this has been going on already. And finally, the off-year elections are over, and we can focus on yet another big election. This one, a lot of money is going to be spent in this town next year. You're going to be very sick of political commercials.